And this is the last section of marketing we're going to look at, and this is place, and it's how we're going to get the product from the business to the customer at the end. So it's very similar in some ways to the video that we did in Unit 1, but we're going to add some different methods of getting the product to the customer as well, such as telesales and mail order. Now, I did mention some of these in the promotion presentation, because those are also methods of promotion as well. You start to see in Unit 2 there's less of a distinction between some of these areas, the 4 Ps, and they mix into each other sometimes. So for example, in promotion, when we're doing 2-for-1 deals and those types of things, that could be considered a pricing method as well. So we have to look at the different channels of distribution used by businesses, and we've got to make a judgment on the appropriateness of all of these. So this was a slide from the Unit 1 video as well, and I was talking about there are many different ways that consumers can purchase these different products these days, and it's to try and increase the reach of the product, try and increase the sales that we get, because if we go through different channels of distribution, we're going to get to a bigger market. So a few key terms: channels of distribution, just the methods used to transfer the good or the service from the producer to the final consumer. And intermediaries are businesses that the product passes through. Sometimes students refer to these as the middlemen. So here we have a distribution diagram of a few different methods of distribution getting the product from the producer to the consumer. And we might have this very direct method here where it goes from the producer through their stores, or direct selling through the website to the consumer, or we might find the producer selling to other retailers, thinking of Debenhams, John Lewis, those types of retailers, and then it sells to the consumer. It might go through a wholesaler that then sells to smaller retailers to the consumer. It might go to a business that's their job is to distribute it to the retailers, and it might go through agents or brokers. Now, these don't take ownership of the product. These put in contact the producer and the wholesaler or the distributor, and organize the sales, and then goes on to the retailer, consumer. Now, agents and brokers are used very often in when a business is trying to sell abroad, so very relevant to what we're looking at in Unit 2. So here are a few other definitions. These were all in the Unit 1 presentation, which is why I'm going through it really quickly. But wholesalers buy in bulk from producers and sell to smaller retailers. Retailers offer customers the convenience and the comfortable environment to purchase items. So when we're thinking of retailers, we're thinking of the stores that the end consumers come into contact with, the ones that are displayed really nicely. They've got colourful and enticing displays, and then they're to make a nice environment for the consumer, to make them feel comfortable so that they purchase and they're willing to spend a lot of money. And the agent put the buyer and the seller in contact, and it's usually used in foreign markets. So definitely, if we're looking about locating abroad and selling abroad, we're thinking of those types of methods. So in addition to these types of distribution methods, we also, and internet selling as well, which we looked at before, but internet selling is really just another form of kind of direct getting that product from the producer to the consumer directly. We can also have telesales, so selling to customers through telephone contact alone. So you might sometimes get those PPI calls and things like that, and that's a method of distribution, isn't it? Getting those people to try and sign up to those deals where they get money back from their loans because missold financial products and those types of things. So they often target people through telesales, maybe double glazing, sometimes through telesales, and mail order as well. And the mail order is a bit of a funny one because it used to be really popular a few years ago before the internet, but these are where goods are ordered through catalogues and delivered directly to the consumer. So the idea behind this was the consumer wouldn't have to go to a store to be able to purchase the item. And I found a picture of an old catalogue this was from 2000. It was a catalogue called K's, which was quite a big catalogue, and you can see the fashion in 2000 was to wear skirts over jeans, which was very fashionable in 2000. But you don't see so many of these types of ordering booklets, catalogues these days. I mean, Next would be like the closest that you get to it, but actually most businesses have got rid of these paper catalogues, which cost a lot of money to produce, and have gone online. So that's really where that's gone. But I suppose telesales and mail order and the internet is just a variation really of this distribution. So rather than going through a different retailer, you're going straight from the producer to the consumer, and the mail order or the telesales or the website is the way that they're doing it. But you're limiting your market if you only choose this one, so you might want to go through other retailers as well, or other wholesalers as well. And we'll have a look at a few different scenarios in a second, so we can choose the most appropriate. So before we have a look at that, though, these are a few of the things that the business might want to consider before they choose the most appropriate channel. So the convenience for the customers. So is your product the type of product that somebody is going to go out of their way to purchase? Maybe because it's a very expensive product, like buying a new car. And so they're going to travel to a special wholesaler or retailer to purchase that. Or is it something, or they're going to go on your website, say, or is it something they're just going to pick up out of convenience? So you need to make sure that you're present in a lot of retailers. Coca-Cola would not sell as many drinks as they do if you had to go to a special Coca-Cola store to buy it. Lots of people buy it these days because it's so convenient. It's available in restaurants, it's available in pubs, in cinemas, in local small shops, in big supermarkets. It's available in so many different places, and that's why they can get so many customers. So distance as well of the business from customers and suppliers. If you have got a product that's a very British product, it's manufactured in Britain, but you're trying to expand abroad, not many people might know about it in Italy or in Australia or in China, and so therefore you might have to put it into their Italian or Chinese or Australian retailers, the equivalent of John Lewis or Debenhams over in those countries, so that people can hear about them as well. Some businesses, and we're going to look at an example of this in a second, some businesses want to reduce their costs by reducing the amount of space that they need to hold their stock. So they might be wanting to sell onto a wholesaler, because then the wholesaler will just take ownership of all of that stock, and then the business themselves need less space to hold that stock. So we'll look at an example of that in a second, but that can reduce costs. And some businesses, a lot of consumers these days do have access to the internet, and certainly our smartphones has helped that access. But if you're marketing a product at an age group that's, say, 70 plus, 70 years or older, it's going to be a smaller percentage of people that have access to the internet. Although I did read a news article the other day that said that people using the internet, people over 75 are, the numbers of people over 75 that are using the internet are increasing. So, maybe in years to come, we're not going to see such a drastic difference in the people that are using the internet based on age. So here are a few different businesses. Now, I gave this as a worksheet to some of my students, so I'm going to go over these channels of distribution here, but I'm just going to explain the reasons verbally. So first of all, we've got a double glazing firm who have small office space, and it's a little bit scruffy looking. So I would suggest that they use maybe the internet to distribute their products, maybe they use telesales, maybe they use mail order. I'm thinking about, maybe using direct mail, flyers through people's doors in the local area, that kind of thing. And the reason for that is that it avoids customers having to come to a scruffy looking office, and double glazing is quite an expensive thing for people to spend money on, and they might be a little bit apprehensive about spending such large amounts of money if the office doesn't look impressive. So it might be about personal selling and the person going around to their house, because they'd have to do the measuring up anyway there at that place, so it's much more convenient for the customer to get the product that way, rather than having to visit an office, which it would take a lot of money to make it look more presentable. So that's a cost that could be avoided if you're selling over the internet and personal selling and things like that. A business that produces biscuits that doesn't have a lot of space to hold stock. Well, I would definitely recommend a wholesaler because they will take a bulk shipment of those biscuits, and then they will be in charge of having to pay for the space to store those biscuits. So it would reduce the cost for the biscuit producing business. And maybe if there are big retailers that they can sell directly to, you know, I'm thinking Asda and Tesco and Sainsbury's and the big supermarkets. If there were small retailers, you know, that might be a little bit bitty. It might mean that the biscuit producer still has to hold quite a bit of stock. So I'd recommend selling to wholesalers so the smaller retailers can get their biscuits through them, and then maybe selling directly to the bigger retailers like Asda, Sainsbury's, Tesco. A designer, I've brought the answer up there. A designer shoe business that wants to display their shoes in a certain way and wants control over the price charged. So they want a lot of control. They don't want kind of discounts applied. They might feel like it might discount the brand in some way. So they're going to have their own shops, their own retailers, so they can control all of that. And that maybe through the internet as well, through their own internet site. Although, you know, remember when we're looking at internet, and you might want to go back to the Unit 1 video for this because I do a lot more detail there. Remember, with things like clothes, although we do have huge growth with, you know, ASOS and all those other sites, remember people can't try them on, so you might get people willing to spend less money on the internet, because very much shopping is about that trying things on, the touch, the feel, the visual appeal of it, and it's a bit limited when you're shopping on the internet. So it may be mainly through your own shops. Now, as you notice, for each one of these things, I'm doing a lot of explanation, and that's what's really, really important when you're doing your answers. So coming up with some suggestions, that's first and foremost, you need to be able to do that to demonstrate to the examiner that you know what you're talking about. But secondly, you've got to explain exactly why would you use the internet, why would you use telesales, why would you use mail order, those types of things. And then lastly, a business that sells office supplies and wants to expand abroad. Well, as I've mentioned before, they want to use agents so they can put them in touch with the right retailers that can sell their office supplies. Now, remember, this is a business that's selling to other businesses. As is this biscuit producer. They're not going to sell directly to their customers. They're going to sell to other businesses that are then going to sell to the customers. But they are going to want to sell to, you know, it's not going to be kind of foreign retailers in shopping malls. It's going to be foreign retailers that also sell to other businesses as well, because this is an office supplies business. So make sure that you can, when you're reading a case study, that you recognise whether it's a what we call B2C, which is business to consumer business, or B2B, which is businesses selling products to other businesses. And the internet as well, because that has global reach, so people in foreign countries can access that as well. And they might want to get into kind of mail order in other countries as well, but they might want to go through, you know, a specialist business that sells office supplies that produce their own kind of mail order catalogue or something like that. Okay, so lots of different channels of distribution that you can get your product to the customer via, including retailers, wholesalers, telesales, mail order, and internet selling. And basically, the big marks are going to come from being able to explain why it's appropriate for that business, whichever business you have in your case study.